the May 9th Oregon State Library Board meeting. Present are Ken Hall, Don Wright, Larry Osborne, Jan Wallander, Scott Edwards, Nick Dierkman, and staff Maureen Cole and Denise Butcher. So everybody got their agenda up? Okay, any changes or additions to the agenda? And now we know what that screen is for because
you can see yourself
we can all see
talking.
ourselves.
Oh my goodness, that's too much.
That is a little too much. That's a little kind of, wow.
More than you want.
Yeah.
Okay. That is evil. I think we'll be watching that right now.
Yeah. Okay, so then, if there are no other changes in the agenda, the first agenda item is approval of the minutes from the April 2018 meeting. Everybody's had a chance to review the minutes. I'll take a motion to approve the minutes as written, unless there's any changes.
So move.
It's been moved, a second?
Second.
So moved and second to approve the minutes from April 2018 meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay, minutes are approved. As always, thank you to Denise for taking good minutes. Next would be public comments, but
No public.
no public. So we'll move right on to the library director's report.
All right,
Go
let's
Mo.
see, what did I say?
And they heard us kind of confused about the camera, they turned it off, so there you go.
Awesome.
You get
Thanks,
back.
guys.
Yeah,
Where do you want to go?
so library director's report.
Oh, that.
So let's see here.
It's clunky, but it works. We're down to library director's report, which
Clear
is
out.
4A.
So once again, we are looking pretty good. We're kind of making these incremental improvements over this year, this month last year. And this is like the second month where I've included kind of that same list of statistics, including like who's checking what out from incorporated, unincorporated, which is pretty interesting. Yeah, and you can see again what difference the new self-checks makes. It's like almost double of
Yeah,
what we were doing last year this time. The one statistic I was really pleased to see was that the difference between what we're sending out and what we're receiving is the smallest it's been in forever, down to 4,200. So, I really want that to keep improving, and it seems that with more of a browsing collection and, I'm assuming just because our collection's bigger and there's more to browse, then that's improving.
improving.
Yeah.
Can I clarify that on the one from last year? I think this was,
Oh, yeah, I
should
added
be
it
added
instead.
instead of subtracted,
Yeah,
but still it's an improvement. I mean,
It's still an
about
improvement, yeah.
about half.
And then
so.
I also mentioned to you guys that Network Office was trying to improve the algorithm behind which items go where, so that if it can stay locally, it does stay locally. So I think the combination of a better collection and them doing that work, really, we're starting to see the
Yeah.
benefits of that.
That's exciting to see that difference.
Yeah, because we've not been carrying our weight for a long time. Last month, we added almost 2,000 new items, which is quite a bit more than usual. That was really good. A bunch of those that was a lot of our adult collection, right? And now the children's one, you'll see in May starting to come in from the money that the foundation gave us. Okay, so on reference, we've been providing statistics monthly, and every month I go, yeah, these don't really look that accurate. What they do in other libraries, and I've done this differently here as well, is instead of trying to track this all day, every day, they try to take a representative week every quarter or 2 weeks, every 6 months or something, and just be really, really, really good about tracking during that period of time. And that's because it's really hard to remember everything you're doing because you're busy, right? So I'm thinking about moving to that system, and just kind of then we would be looking at these differently. We'd be kind of extrapolating, using those figures. What do you guys think about that? Because I haven't found these very useful, really.
Yeah, well, the assumption is that the reference questions kind of stay about in the same strata like this, and every once in a while you dip in like this and make sure it's.
Is that
Right.
true?
Is that true? We are busy and not busy, but, over time, I think it's generally
Evens
true.
out, sure.
Yeah. I think over time, we would see enough trends doing it that way, that would be fine. It would take a while to,
Less busy work is better.
But busy, what?
Less busy work is better.
Well, yeah, exactly. And if they're not accurate anyway, and we know they're not capturing everything, it's like, what's the point,
Sure.
How,
I actually wonder if there might be differences at different times of the year. I mean, like when the first start of school, is there more kids asking reference questions, and then over time that changes,
I
which would
think-
be.
yeah, I
doing-
think-
So I think if you did it periodically, you want to choose some kind of.
Yeah,
key
selecting
time.
when is, I think, gonna be really the trick.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ken.
how is that reported?
Well, it's only reported, actually, it's reported to the state library as well. That does go on the state.
No, I mean, but
How's it recorded?
how is it reported in the library itself?
Well, you know how.
I do know. Greg at Network made a little program for us. Every time you perform a reference question, you just make a little click on the screen and it adds it up.
Oh, okay.
It's magic.
That makes
So,
sense.
so it's easy, it's
It's
just
easy.
remembering.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's a separate action.
It's a separate action.
Actually, doing hash marks on paper might be easier.
Yeah.
If we did it for like just 2 weeks at a time, however often that would end up being, that might, be the easier system to go to. I don't know.
But
Because
what
then seeing something actually really helps too.
It would have to be a consistent time.
what
So
is
do
the
you
intent of that, though?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. What is
Well,
the intent of that?
The intent is to provide it to the state, honestly.
But what do they do with it?
Well, they report it to the federal government.
And what do they do?
I don't know.
It's like,
Honestly,
see-
I don't know.
It's not something, I sort of think about these statistics and I
For what
don't
purpose?
see anything that relevant. I mean, you have to provide coverage on that, on the reference.
On the desk anyway, regardless,
Anyhow.
yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, so I don't,
I mean, for us, we're always trying to get the reference librarians in particular to tell us what the busy times are in case we need to double staff it or something. And it's, we've never talked about really looking at this because it's kind of a, time per day and days per week maybe, but it like varies a lot. So it's really hard to find any patterns. I mean, that would be useful information for us, for staffing. But as far as like this, it's like they're working, I believe they're working, they're working hard up there.
So my question would be, had you asked the reference librarians how they think would be best to,
Probably not, no.
because I don't know if it's just a case of it's all simple questions or there's simple reference questions and there's complicated reference.
Well, there definitely are. and we
So
could
how
put
do
them
you
into-
sort that,
Well, we kind of,
so we
we
understand?
kind of sort that. This is not really like what I get. I get, Denise breaks it down a little bit better for me. So they kind of track like more, something above directional but simple. And then the complicated research, they track those separately. Yeah.
Which, this is not so much related to collecting the data, but I just, I never even think about going to the reference. I don't know what kind of questions to take to a reference librarian. So I think just understanding
Well-
what things you might,
We can certainly gather a sample of questions. Like I was standing
well, I
there.
was thinking more about, in terms of information to the general public. If you ever, this is what you can use your reference librarian for, If you
Gotcha.
want to promote the service.
Well, not
Maybe you don't want to
necessarily.
promote it.
I know, yeah, pretty busy already.
that's a really good point, though. I agree with what you're saying, Jen. That even, again, it depends on how much you want to promote it.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it would be, I think it would be interesting for people to know what kind, at least categories of questions that they might want to take to the.
Well, how about if we do
That's-
this in the next few months? When we have time, we won't make this a priority or anything, but we'll come up with some of that and at least start with you guys. And see what interests you, see what you find interesting about what they do. Okay?
And, not to place everything on the strategic planning, but, you know, maybe something will come out of the strategic planning that says people who really want to use the library for a resource
Maybe,
for
yeah.
X,
Yeah,
you
maybe
know,
so.
and then how do you promote that and market it as, you know?
Sure.
But yeah, if it's just a case of how many questions got asked, it's not, it's like, okay.
No, I know, we
curious.
haven't really been using it very well, so. And then, let's see here, so. Programming still going strong. Internet computer sessions are kind of evened out. So are cultural passes. Meeting room, we don't really have anything to compare it to, but I think that'll be interesting to track. And social media, we don't really have anything to compare it to, except for last month. So,
You said, what does 2691 on Facebook
those are
represent?
likes.
Likes?
Yeah.
Okay. And Twitter's would be tweets, and Instagrams would be Instas, and Pinterest would be.
Pinterest would be pins, yeah, no, They're all kind of likes, you
Okay.
know, you can just think of it as likes.
I think the e-blast list, is that the first time that you've had that number on?
I had it
don't-
last month too.
You did? I didn't know. I didn't recall it from last month.
Yeah, so once I get like some hotshot to help me, I'm thinking of, adding, in addition to like this time last year, also just last month. So you can just see the variations between months, because otherwise you have to look at a whole different page. And so, once I get some help with all that, we'll take a look at that, and that might actually help with a little bit more trends, you know?
Because I was thinking that I would expect that in May, particularly your Facebook and Instagram will be much higher because you did all of the May 4th, May the 4th. You did a lot of postings.
Yeah, there were a lot of
A lot of
postings. Yeah. Speaking of that, now that was May, so you'll hear about it again in May. But Denise looked at the door counter numbers before the event started so that we would have an accurate reading afterwards. Thank you for doing that. And there were
Oh my
926.
gosh, people.
Well, there were
Or-
926 triggers of the door counters. So they, you know, you got to remember that, like, kids run in and out. So, I know. Rotary was really impressed with that number, by the way. I reported that to them today. So they staff estimates that there's at least 500 people there.
Yeah, Barrett thought about 250 kids and then their parents.
Yeah.
Most of them had at least 2 people with them. So,
Yeah,
It's a
well,
big
so that's
event.
that's above 500
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah. So we got rave reviews, and people are still talking about it. I saw kids walking down the street with their whatchamajiggers, their lasers.
lightsaber.
These lightsabers, yeah. So that went really, really well, and they did just fine without me. But I missed it. Denise was sending me pictures of it in real time. It was awesome. It was great.
They were great. I saw some of them too. The kind of the lightsaber kind of.
Out in
whatever.
Spray Park.
Yeah.
Yeah, lightsaber duels.
Yeah, well, we were lucky because it was a nice day.
It was.
Yeah. It would be a different event if it was
Right.
raining, you know, it wouldn't be nearly as much fun. Okay, so anyway, I think the statistics are going pretty well. Looking pretty good over at the library. We certainly feel very, very busy, don't we? Yeah. And then I'm still working with the architect and the contractors. We have funds to cover this left over from the project set aside, so we're in good shape on that. And once I have something all put together, it's just like pulling teeth to get builders to do. They're all busy. They're all super busy. And if you're like just a small project, even though this is significant money, it's a small project compared to what these people are doing elsewise. It is like pulling teeth to get them out here. I sent you guys a picture of the new signs. And Raymond Rendelman has asked if I could be available to get my picture taken with the sign, and Denise McGriff, who was on that sign committee, and I'm gonna be unavailable, so Don has stepped in. Since he was on the committee.
Thank you, Don.
I asked him, thank you, Don. So it will be interesting to hear what that article says. And then we
Is
are,
the new sign up? I'm just kidding.
Both of them are.
both of them
Okay,
are.
the one on this, oh God,
On
South-
6th,
southwest
west.
corner. Yeah, which just, it says it's the park, and then the big one, which says it's the building, it's the park, it's the library. That's, over across from Singer Hill, and they really do show up well. Yeah, I mean, a lot better than the one we replaced, actually. So, yeah,
Yeah, they're very visible. They're
Yep.
really very
Nice
beautiful.
contrast.
Yeah, they're very beautiful.
I was mesmerized by the gold leaf.
Yeah, the gold is
inside
kind
there.
of, yeah, definitely attracts your eye.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, and the big sign also, it names the Carnegie Building and Library Park as well, right?
The library building, the library,
Yeah,
Carnegie Building, and Library Park.
yeah. And then the other sign on the corner of 6th just is Library Park.
Library Park, yeah.
Yeah, so they look pretty good.
And the McLaughlin Association is already crowing about it, that they're very happy that it went up, yeah, so.
Good, excellent.
They've announced it already on Facebook with large block letters, let's put it that way.
Okay, excellent.
Good.
I'm glad they like it. Staff has been spending a ton of time on summer reading and prepping for summer reading. That, as you know, starts basically in January. And it's a lot of effort. Yeah, getting ready for that. So if you would like to help us stuff bags for the summer readers, we will be doing that on the evening of May 24th. We'll have a little pizza party and stuff some bags and get that all done. Gina's got 500. I don't know. Do we have other things, other kid bags to do too? We do, don't we?
Yeah, all the kids.
Yeah. And then, we'll be doing that Touch a Truck program again. And it was gonna be on a Saturday, but Police and Public Works requested that we move it to a Monday morning, it's way easier for them to staff it. So we kind of like to have some events on Saturdays so that working parents can go, but it can't be that one, so unfortunately. So 10 to 12, Monday, June 18th. And that's kind of the first. We'll have summer reading stuff available to sign up before then, but that's like the first kind of event of summer reading. I think school gets out like maybe the Friday before that or the Thursday before that or something like that. And then I thought for a change, I would list out all the programs coming up that I thought you might be interested in, including baby sign language, just so you know that is a brand new program that we're starting. We've got nothing for like really little babies. And it's a program that is gonna alternate between Westland Public Library and our library, so it'll be 6 weeks at our place and then 6 weeks over there and then back and forth. Just because that really like, screws up your calendar really nicely.
What is it, though?
Well, they teach baby sign language.
As if we
So,
have a clue.
Yeah, babies have been learning sign language for quite a while, and it's like the thing where you teach babies how to like say more and food and this and that, and it's remarkable how much better you can communicate with a baby, even just having a couple of words. Because, that's the problem with babies, right? Or problem. They have no verbal
We have no language,
ability, right? No language.
that doesn't mean they don't understand.
Well, that doesn't mean they don't understand, yeah, and instead of like interpreting all their crying, you could actually get them to do sign language. They can get pretty adept at it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so that's what that is.
It's brand new to me.
Yeah,
That sounds like something as unique enough that if you called the TV stations or something, you'd probably get some publicity, if you need any.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I
think I
mentioned
saw
that
a
to
special
my
on-
publicity person.
Thought I saw a special on chimpanzees that showed that.
Well,
Like, at that point, you know what I mean?
It's also a
Yeah,
nice,
Sure, I'll pass that along, Dawn.
interactive activity. It's a nice interactive activity for mom and baby, just trying
Oh,
to
yeah.
better understand.
Oh, yeah.
those kind of reading of cues,
Just-
which is
yeah.
all about reading of cues.
Yep, and just the eye-to-eye contact and stuff, it's just really important that the babies are attaching to a human being who cares
could there be
about
a follow-up
them, you know
one
what
for
I mean?
husbands then? Could
What?
there be a follow-up one for husbands then?
Do husbands have that problem?
I would think they do.
Wow.
It's because they didn't learn it as babies.
That's,
I'm not gonna step in that one, though. Today is my anniversary. I'm
Yeah,
not
that's right.
bad-mouthing any
So I
husband.
forgot to say that at the
No way.
beginning. Remember, we're celebrating Mo's anniversary today,
Oh,
wedding
really?
anniversary.
Heck yeah.
So we want to get done early so she can,
Oh, yeah, so I have to go have a Rotary meeting.
yeah.
It's not, but it's a meeting over a glass of wine. So I'll be drinking and celebrating without my husband.
There you go.
Yeah, that makes no sense, but anyway. So tomorrow night, however, is the Frederick Law Olmsted Designing America film out at the end of the Oregon Trail. And this is a, partnership is kind of a strong word for it, but I roped in the Parks Department and the Planning Department and Metro on this with me. Because it kind of came through Metro and Willamette Falls Legacy Project. So it's Willamette Falls Legacy Project that's doing it kind of with us. And it's basically a replacement for the First Friday film we didn't have last week. Except that at the end of the Oregon Trail is going all out, and they're actually going to sell beer and wine in addition to the snacks and stuff that I always bring. So if you've never been to a First Friday film, it's similar to what this is going to be. And I think it'll be very interesting if you're at all interested in land use and public planning and that kind of thing, because the park system in the United States is heavily based in this one man. He really made a huge difference to parks in the United States, and his sons or stepsons were very instrumental in Portland, in the park system we have in Portland. So that starts at
What
6:30
time are these?
tomorrow.
6:30 tomorrow.
Yeah. You're gonna have to look them up online. I know that one, and I could probably tell you a few more, but I really, oh, and then next week, you might be interested in this one too. Next Thursday, Willamette Falls Storymaker Film Festival, Sue Mock and the English department out at Clackamas Community College did 2 workshops and invited people in. And this was kind of also a collaboration with Christina Robertson Gardner from our planning department. She's like our historic planner. So she invited people in who had any kind of connection with Willamette Falls to tell a little story about it, and then they actually created films from those stories. And so that's what this will be, is the showing of those films. And there's about 8 films apparently, like short 5-minute things. And we'll have some snacks there and stuff too, and that's at the library. So I just want to make sure that like you know about all these interesting things going on, or at least kind of see like a list of what I think is interesting or would interest you.
Can I go back to summer reading, just a question? I can
Yeah.
do the Chiefs thing again?
No,
No.
that was just like, that was last year. It was related to the theme last year
Build a
somehow.
better world.
Build a better
Ah,
world.
okay.
And so we kind of wanted to bring some of our local people in who actually help us do that. And so that's what happened. Yeah.
This year is Libraries Rock,
Libraries
Is the
rock,
theme.
Okay.
and every Wednesday we're having a concert
Ooh.
in the park.
Yeah. Including the taiko drums at some point. Yeah. Wednesday, at what time did you say?
11.
Yeah, yes,
11.
exactly.
Okay.
So let's see here. I guess strategic planning is, that it's going fine. We sent out our packets to the, stakeholders, and I've heard back from those of, the ones who are interested in eating, which is good because we'll be ordering food because it's during dinner times. And I sent out specific instructions on how we're going to accomplish that. And happy to report that Larry and Scott are both interested in eating, and they let me know what they want, which is great because I can just see all these people showing up and going, well, what's mine? And I'm like, you were supposed to tell me. I don't know. So you brought your own.
So, you know, at least the 2 library board people
Exactly.
read.
Exactly, right? I love that about them. Yeah.
Mo made it abundantly clear that that was the main purpose of that
Yeah.
email.
Yeah, exactly. You know,
So if
well, I
you're-
was really worried it was kind of be kind of lost in the attachment that we sent you, you know, so.
So your question here to us is about the PowerPoint you're doing and if we would want to review it at our
Yeah.
next meeting. So I just
Yeah.
want to ask the group, that seems reasonable to me, if that seems.
That's good.
Okay, that gives me a deadline.
Well, you'll have had your first stakeholders meeting by then too, right?
No, oh, wait, our next, yeah,
Next, yeah.
yeah. Well, we'll have had both of them,
Yeah.
so obviously I'll have it done, yeah. But then you could see,
As well as feedback from,
yeah, as well as feedback from the attendees, that would be great. I have it mostly put together already, you know. It's mostly about library, kind of how we
We're still
got
2
where we
weeks.
are. Huh?
it's still 2 weeks away.
Oh, I have plenty of time, yeah, exactly. It's called just in time, getting stuff done, which is like 5 minutes before you start. And then I just talked a little bit about collections. Barrett Miller, our youth services person, has really gone all out to kind of separate out things into chunks that are way smaller than I think a traditional library is used to. But, you know, collections have changed a lot in the last several years, especially in the children's area, I think, to make it easier for kids to find things and their caregivers to find things. And it's caused a lot of heartache in some respects because it's a lot more work for the people who catalog and process those things. But then if they're easier to find, and that is the point, for things to be found, you know? We don't have them so that people can't find them. And she just told me, I think it might have just been today, that she frequently gets comments from parents and grandparents and caregivers that it's much easier to find things the way we've changed stuff into. So
can you give us an example of what?
well, there's more. So for instance, one of the collections she's created is called Bridging Fiction. And it's like helping people bridge reading levels. So there's multiple reading levels. And the way they're kind of graded, it's like each publisher has like, this is what we're going to call levels. And they don't really quite match up together. So that like level 1 in one thing might be level 2 in another series, you know, or publisher. And so what she's done is like, she's bridged it more into ability, put it more into ability so that if your reader is like, he's in first grade and he's starting to be able to handle longer sentences and paragraphs, you know, there's like this big development in there from like being able to read a word to being able to read a paragraph, for instance. That's like a huge difference in reading ability. Then she can like kind of point them to a group of books instead of like be trying to get it from all over.
Okay.
So like often what she'll do is pull out a book and say, okay, is this easy for you or hard? Something like that, right? And then the kid will let her know, and then she can kind of say, okay, how about this? Here's your area. And that just really helps, you know, match the child to the material. And you can't do that for everything, but that's, you know, at least like in that fiction area you can. So because, you know, there's like this huge jump between like storybook, picture books, and like, you know, fiction, you know, the thicker books that kids can read at like age 10. But you know, that's the thing. Not everybody can read those at age 10.
About how many books are in each of those sub-collections?
Oh, I have no idea.
I don't either.
That's a really good question.
I mean, well, how big is the stack area, let's put it that way, for each collection?
Oh, it differs, you know,
It
it
differs.
differs, yeah.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, I have
fantastic.
to go over and look. I mean, so it seems like it'd be really helpful for parents and kids, and so that you can find, so that kids stay excited about reading and not get something that frustrates them.
Well, yeah, and so that the experience in the library is also not frustrating, or is it less frustrating?
Yeah.
You know, because finding something, you know, you don't want it to be hard,
Right.
you know, and you want to have stuff there for them to find too.
And
So, go ahead.
in each collection, there's a variety of different kinds of material, different subject matter and so on.
Well, it depends, like, on, like, if it's fiction, it's gonna be fiction. But, I mean, yeah, she tries to pull a very good variety from all
That's
over.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's some little sub areas that are more like, and this would be in the little kid, for the little world readers. Or actually, they're probably not reading, but more like, okay, here's a bunch of books about storybooks, about trucks. Here's a bunch of storybooks about animals. You know, you kind of name those like really popular subheadings. And instead of worrying about maybe the official, like where this really should go, depending on Dewey, you know, she'll create those little subgroups. So it just gets tricky, some of those at the other end of like, you know, she has to be very involved in like saying, this is where this is gonna go. So it's all kind of been integrated with our ordering process and stuff so that she can say that early on. So we've had to come up with some new systems to accommodate some of those things.
Does that present a shelving problem though?
No, because they're all, well, not in theory. Not in theory, because they mostly have like stickers that are very, very specific to
Yeah.
that collection. So yeah, she has lots of fun with stickers. Yeah. So yeah, she loves that. Speaking of stickers, there's been a lot of conversation about LGBTQ books specifically. And if there should be like a pull-out collection of those or all integrated. And this is in the young adult area, not the children's area. And we actually have a group in town, an LGBTQ group in town that's called The Living Room that meets across the street at the former Atkinson Church. I can't remember the full name of the new church. One of our librarians went and talked to them and asked them what they would prefer, because there's a lot to think about, because there's a lot of sensitivity about how a young adult might feel about that. And they were all for having a specific pull-out little section of LGBTQ young adult books, and then having some of those titles duplicated in the regular collection. But the ones that are pulled out, they will have like very specific stickers on them, and apparently it's a unicorn on a rainbow or something like that. It's a very fun kind of whimsical thing. So you'll hear more about that later
I'm
at some
very
point, I'm
impressed
sure.
that you get the order of the letters right.
Yeah, well, I still struggle with that. Yeah, I don't know what it will say on it. I have no idea, but anyway, it will have a sticker. Let's see what else. So collections, strategic planning, staffing's doing well. We need more staff, there's no doubt about it, but how much we can afford and where we should put it is the big question. So.
Are you fully staffed now for what you're budgeted for, or?
Oh, we're fully staffed for what our budget is budgeted for, yeah. But,
Need more. Yeah.
There's an implication there then.
yeah. Well, I think the budget could probably accommodate a bit more. I'm not sure if it would be a permanent full-time position or like more on-calls or what. I think we could accommodate something, but you know what that something should be, you know, because we have needs everywhere. So, but we're busy and that's great, but you know, it has implications when you get this busy, so.
Just curious, what is kind of like the hours breakdown between actually dealing face-to-face with public and doing the hands-on stuff?
Hands-on work.
Kind of
As
just
far as
curious.
like hours, so
A percentage.
a percentage? Well, it's, for a lot of our, like our youth services librarian spends a little bit less than half of her time on desk. And she has a lot to do in that other half of her time. And does that include, like, but when she's doing story time, that's included
That's
in desk
including in her
hours,
desk
right?
hours.
Yeah. And that's probably pretty close to true for the library assistants that are more than 30 hours a week or 30 hours a week in those areas, right? And then there are some people that are virtually always on desk except for like a half an hour to read email and take their breaks. So if they would be there for like 6 hours, you know, like 5 of it would be,
Sure.
yeah.
I just think, of it just as a general rule, that's all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, they never put me on desk.
No.
They're glad they don't.
Yes.
And we do also have some people that are never on the desk or very
Yeah.
rarely on the desk.
Right, but that's Betty.
Betty in technical services
Right.
is never on the desk.
Yeah,
And Aaron and I are here and there.
yeah, kind of like quarter time, really.
Yeah.
By the time you cover breaks and everything else, yeah. So that's, those are 3 full-time positions. So let's see, Betty and I are never on the desk, so that's 2 40-hour-week people. Oh, I wish I was 40-hour-a-week.
Yeah, I wish.
Denise is like maybe a quarter of her time. Aaron is probably more than that, more like a third.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. Is he always working when he's on the desk? I don't know. But, yeah, so those are good questions.
Okay.
Yeah, we're open 56 hours a week, and we probably should think about maybe being open later.
Yeah.
That would be
My comment is if, I don't go there very often, but when I do, I never have problem finding somebody.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's excellent. Glad
And I
to hear.
assume you're seeing some shift just as there's more self-checkouts. I mean, there's still some front desk people, we have to do some things, but you're using people for just being available for questions and
Right.
still learning
Yeah,
how to use the checkout and the
right.
check-in.
So, I mean, we always have one person in the lobby somewhere close by. What we're discovering is that the self-checkout is super, super helpful, and you can see that people are using it, which is great. And the self-check-in is also super, super useful, and it eliminates a lot of that repetitive, motion that can stress out people's joints. And however, the shelving stacks up faster. And, you still got a shelf. So we have more carts sitting around that need shelving. So we're trying to get more volunteers in to shelve and help relieve that pressure a little bit. Because the thing is, once you've checked something in, it says it's available on the shelf, right? But it might be sitting on a cart. And what happens is that then people see these items in the catalog and they can't find them. And so staff is kind of like, oh, is it on a cart somewhere? I'll go find it for you. And they're wasting time searching on carts. Now, some super busy libraries have, like down in Eugene, oh my God, they would have like a room full of carts that needed shelving. It was really, really, really scary. But all those items probably had like an interim setting that said something like being shelved or something like that, that would automatically disappear after 3 days or whatever the interim was, because they knew it was going to take a while. And if they said it was available, that would cause all kinds of chaos, right? So there's ways to set that up, but I mean, it's like, if it's a few hours and that's all we're talking about. Yeah.
So is shelving one of those tasks that people don't like or do like? And I'm asking because I've just from some friends, my book group friends, some of them said, oh, I shelve once, I never want to do that again. And I was like, oh, that sounds kind of interesting. So I just don't.
Would you like to volunteer?
Well, I thought about it, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great.
But I wondered if it's just one of those tasks that people don't like to do, and so it is kind of just, it's like lower on your list, or.
Gotta know your decimals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if you could just focus on doing that, and that would, you'd probably think it would be really fun for an hour or something. It depends on the person. I am not coming back in my second life as a shelver, I can tell you that. Nor will I probably volunteer after I retire as a shelver,
Who's our
Yeah.
long-term shelver volunteer?
We have
Robert?
James.
James, yeah.
He's been doing it for like, how many years? 20-something?
Yeah, at least.
Gosh.
Yeah.
I can see how, though, it might be better as for volunteer shelvers who would just say volunteer, so people wouldn't ask you questions. If you're a staff person shelving, then everybody's asking you questions, and then you're kind of, I don't know.
Well, some of our volunteers come in before we open, and that's probably ideal, for them, because then it's like you're not going to be bothered by anybody, and you really can get some work done. So it just depends on your schedule, right? But yeah, we've got some great volunteers who are really helping us out these days.
It's great for finding out what's in the library.
It's a great way to find out what's in the library. Yeah. And then in addition to shelving, there's shelf reading. So you walk along and make sure that everything is kind of in order. And you find a lot of mistakes there. And our librarians will often do a lot of that. That's easier to do than shelving, actually. So they're pretty good about doing some of that, at least upstairs, I see them doing it, so. Anyway, see, you're learning so much
Yeah.
about the library, isn't it interesting?
It is.
Yeah.
I appreciate you answering I think it's answering your questions. I appreciate that. I think it helps us learn.
Absolutely.
We always need more volunteers too.
Yeah, we
So-
do.
So if you have extra time.
Now that farmer's market just
Yeah.
started, right? So any questions about my report or anything that's going on in the library or,
Any questions for Mo? No?
great. Okay, then I put this on the select date for network automated handler, just so that we would be sure and we'd all be clear on, the dates. Ken, do you want to go see the automated materials handler up at network with us? You're the only person who didn't respond.
I would like to, but I forgot what the date is.
Well, so, here's what it turned out to look like. It turns out that the 24th is a staff meeting day for us, and so it's probably not the best day, and you were one of the people that wanted to do the 24th or the 31st. But it looks like the 31st looks really good for everybody. And that is, what day of the week is that? Do you have your phone?
I do.
Assumed it was a,
And it wouldn't be Nick's preference, but he said he could probably make it.
I could.
so is it a Friday?
We could get you there.
Thursday, yeah.
So it would be, yeah, what day of the week?
I'm getting,
Thursday.
Oh, sorry, it's a Thursday.
it is,
So May 31st, it's a Thursday.
Yeah, and it would be like, what did they say, 9:45? I have to go dig up the time. So could you make it on that day, Ken? The 31st, Thursday, the 31st?
Of this month?
Yes, of May. Yes, thank you for asking. Well, it's not June, because June doesn't have a 31st.
Does that
I
seem
think
like
so.
a
I think so.
reasonable date for
It's on
people?
a Thursday?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think I can.
Okay.
Where do I go?
well, I'll send you all those instructions.
Okay, sure.
But it's up off of Beaver Creek. Do you know where Benchmade is?
Yeah,
You are going to turn into that street and go all the way to the end of the cul-de-sac, and it's right next to the passport office, which is at the end of the cul-de-sac. So I'll send that to you, but just so you can kind of visualize, that's where it is.
sure.
Yeah.
And I'll let you know if I'm, for sure, if I'm gonna make it. I'm like 95% sure.
Okay, okay. We could get you up there on that day? Okay, perfect. I'll come get you if I need to.
All right,
Okay?
thank you.
And did I vaguely remember somebody wanted to bring someone? Did you want to bring a guest? You were-
Yeah, well, I asked about bringing, is it possible to bring somebody, a guest?
Well, yeah, Scott wanted to bring somebody too. Yeah.
Okay,
Absolutely. Scott wanted to bring Pam Bloom, who he works for, but she's also the foundation chair actually right now. So let's see if she can do this one, Scott, if you could pass that day along. And if she can't, I will work something out with the foundation, okay? Yeah,
Sounds
I
good.
will make sure that Pam is not left out,
Okay.
because I would have hell to pay. Yeah, otherwise. Okay, great, I will work that out with Greg, and then I will get back to you. I will double check that with him, and I will get back to you and send you directions and time and date and all that, so you don't have to remember a
Sure.
thing, okay?
Appreciate it.
Unless you want to get it on your calendar now. I should probably get it on my calendar.
Yeah.
So like 9:40, 9:30, 9:45, something to 10, something, Thursday, May 31, okay?
Okay, great. Thank you for arranging.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
I think you guys will have fun watching it, and I've never seen it. I've seen it, but I haven't seen it like doing its thing.
Doing
And sorting
anything.
things out for every library, yeah. Oh,
Just
that'll
wanna
be
give
really,
Josh a hard time.
oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
you know that.
Yeah, Scott knows somebody that works up there, which is excellent. I'm not surprised to hear that you know him somehow either. Like you two look like birds of a feather.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, but now next agenda, the final one is communications, which is where we kind of report back on various groups. So we'll start with LDAC. Have you guys met, Library District?
Yeah, we did meet, we met, the main topic of discussion was around the task forces that are being set up. And there's two task forces, I think Don had gone over this somewhat before. But now it's really, we're getting into the more depth of planning for those task force right now. And So again, just a brief overview is we have the task force that is really related to the Oak Grove and
Gladstone.
Settlement situation. So that one is, I think they've already met, if I remember correctly. And then the larger task force, which actually I think it's great to have that task force and that effort going on. And it's going to take some time, probably could be a year and a half, something like that. But I think it's an opportunity to get some things settled that have sort of been questioned and that type of thing. And so the plan with that is it's a task force of 27 people, which sounds like a lot, but there are actually 3 subcommittees. In the 3 subcommittees, one will focus on library services, one will focus on funding, and then the third will focus on governance. And the governance is really related to the master agreement, the IGA, and that type of thing. In other words, it's kind of taking what the other 2 groups are doing and kind of looking at how that fits within the realm of how the library district is set up and operates. So, and a lot of the discussion last time was really around how LDAC fits into the oversight over the task force. In other words, LDAC is really kind of the sponsor group of the task forces. And so that was probably the biggest part of the discussion then.
Yeah, because the true scope of what LDAC is supposed to do is actually very, very narrow. And, but there'll be, so there was a lot of discussion over that.
Well, thank you.
Sure.
And again, thank you to Don for hanging in there during the time when it was less fun, and Nick taking over now when it's going to be more work.
I always have a question. So did they talk about the Gladstone special election coming up here, I think, on the...
I mean, right now that is kind of crucial in terms of the next steps on the settlement.
So
That
Gladstone has to approve the bond issue, is it, for the new library?
Yeah, I mean, when I just read something about it in the paper, a summary of it, and it didn't sound, I mean, it doesn't really sound like a bond measure, but it's, because it's over.
It's some kind of a vote of the people anyhow.
Yeah, it has to
for
go to
the library.
people. Mainly because I think the way that it's what is allowed in Gladstone in terms of how some funds are used.
Yeah, after the first library thing went down, they actually approved a measure that said anything over a certain amount had to be approved. And so that's what my understanding is, that's what people are approving.
Okay.
And now how they're gonna pay for it, I'm not even sure,
another
but
issue, okay.
if that's wrapped up in it or not, this is like just approving of the concept of spending the money on it, so.
Well, I
It'll
wish
be
them
interesting to see what direction that goes.
Yeah.
And that
That
amount
will-
was very low, as I remember. The amount was very low.
Very low, like $100,000 or
Yeah,
something.
It was more than that.
Was
like-
it?
Well, depends on, again, how, I think it's $1 million, but with what they're thinking, the settlement includes, it's like 200,000 over 20 years or something.
Right,
So, I mean, that's a lot, it becomes real money, over that period of
Yeah.
time. So that's the way I understood it. I may be wrong, but
well, that's one aspect of it for sure. And then there's the cost of the building that they think they would be able to take out of district funds. Well, which is super interesting because supposedly we don't want to use that for capital, and that sounds like capital to me, but whatever, yeah. So, there's always this contingent of people that
You can
don't
see
want
why I enjoyed
to.
it.
Yeah, they
Things
don't
aren't
want to
exactly what
approve
they always seem to
city
be.
general fund money on something where it's like somebody in the unincorporated area will benefit from it and they're not paying their own way. Yeah, it's kind of the theory.
And then Milwaukee's plans are, do they have to go for a bond, or they already have?
I think they've already had their bond.
Okay, good.
But they were supposed to have moved into temporary buildings by now, and that's been kind of, I think there's some permitting problems or something, just didn't get accomplished or whatever, I don't know. Anyway, they haven't quite moved yet. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions for Nick? Okay. Friends?
Oh, the Friends delayed their meeting till next week.
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes it easier.
And I'm to point out that the new signs are up at the library.
Sorry, I talked about it, sorry.
That was my job, it's all
I
right.
may have to walk over there and take a look.
Yeah, take a look at them, they're cute, they're really
And thank
nice.
you for being on that committee and
It was-
shepherding that through.
Well, I helped, but,
We
yeah.
sent you to all the contentious ones.
I do the contentions. I'm Mr. Contention.
Yeah. And the foundation, so I represent us on the foundation, we have met, I think most of the discussion was really about some internal management kind of issues and mostly about maybe changing their database format so it can be easier to do more focused fundraising towards the future. They are planning on doing a sort of spring, more like summer solicitation letter that will stuff next meeting to
Right,
get out. So I
right.
think they're committed to continuing to raise funds to be able to support more books or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think kind of waiting to see what comes out of the strategic plan to be their next big
Yep.
push, if there's something there that they can work on, so. But still meeting. Any other groups that we're involved with, I think should be involved in? Okay. So then the last item is talk about future agenda items. So it sounds like for next month, certainly the main thing will probably be strategic plan. You'll have had your two stakeholder
Right.
meetings and then kind of, so like, where do we go from here? Or where are you going from here with the strategic plan?
Yeah. We'll bring everything that we've got at that point, plus the PowerPoint.
Anything else that,
Can't think of anything.
okay. Remember, May 24th, pizza and packet stuffing.
Right. Yeah.
If there's anything else, meeting adjourned at 5:55.